everyone, good morning again. This is Katrina Respuesto, and for today's video, we will be touching about migration and development and what is at stake. So without further ado, let's get started. IOM, or International Organization for Migration and Development, or M&D. So, making migration work for sustainable development for migrants, countries of origin, and countries of destination. So it means that migration helps spread industrialization internationally because immigrants from industrialized places utilize knowledge transfer mechanisms to help accelerate industry in their destinations. For example, the newfound abundance of laborers in rural areas actually drove rural wages up, plus the arrival of new unskilled job opportunities in cities associated with increased national productivity and development. Just from this example, we can see how migration affects development in both origin and destination countries. What we see is that migration and development go hand in hand. M&D, or migration and development. What is at stake? So, migration matters today more than ever before. Migration is relevant to all three pillars of sustainable development, which are the economic, social, and environmental. Governments increasingly recognize that migration is both inevitable and necessary, and that it can contribute to inclusive and sustainable social and economic development. Okay, here are the effects of migration on development of a country. So migration is relevant today. First, economic. So economic motives for migration are widely referred to as studied as a migration motivator, especially in the context of development. Migration raises world GDP, in particular by raising productivity. It boosts the working age population, so migrants arrive with skills and contribute to the human capital development of receiving countries. Next is social. Migration can also have an impact on a larger social phenomenon such as democratic institutions, environmental degradation, and gender norms, either through the transmission of values and knowledge or through the resources provided by remittances. Next is environmental dimensions of sustainable development and peace and security. So migration also contributes to sustainable development. For households in poor areas, remittances improve security and with the support of appropriate policies can contribute to local growth. So next is the migration dynamics. So approximately there are 7 billion population and 1 billion migrants with 232 million international and 740 million internal. Feminization could be 50%. Next is the international migrants in context. Population between 4th and 5th largest countries. So Indonesia is the 4th largest country with 237 million population. International migrants with 232 million. Brazil, the 5th largest country with 193 million. The economic contribution according to the size of large GDPs. Saudi Arabia is the 23rd with 434 billion USD. The annual migrant remittances is the 24th with 414 billion USD, and Austria is the 28th with 379 billion USD. Okay, next is fourth, the key findings, comparing four pathways of migration. So, most international migrants move from the south to the north or between countries in the south. So, in the picture, four migration pathways, Gallup estimate of first generation adult migrant stock in north 22%, from north to south 5%, from south to south 33%, and south to north is 40%. So, more than half of the top 20 migration corridors are accounted for by people migrating from south to south. So, here in the illustration, top 20 migration corridors worldwide, the migrant stock in thousands using the World Bank classification in the year 2010. So, in the legend, green color indicates the north, yellow is the south. So the gray arrow indicate north to north migration corridor. The red arrow indicates south to south migration corridor, and this black arrow indicates south to north migration corridor. Okay, next is the migration trends in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, or EECA. So, while migrant stocks in the region have been stabilizing, other types of human mobility emerge. Examples, the student mobility. So, here in the picture or in the illustration, the left side is the international migrant stock in the year 1990 to 2013. So, itong nasa baba is the male international migrant stock at mid-year. At itong nasa taas naman is the female international migrant stock at the mid-year. So, in the right illustration, is the outbound mobile students in the year 2011. So as you can see, the data is from the Kyrgyzstan to Russian Federation is increasing. So next is the remittances inflows in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, or EECA, in the year 2012. So, considerable impact of remittances inflows on 5 EECA countries with above 10% of GDP. So, let's proceed to the next slide. Okay, so post 2015 development age. So 2015 deadline for the achievement of Millennium Development Goals. Safe, orderly migration is equal to the development gains. And third, forced or unplanned migration could be the negative repercussions for human development. So migration as an enabler of development. The future we want for all: equality, sustainability, human rights. So in inclusive economic development, enablers could be fair and stable global trading system, adequate financing for development and stable financial system, affordable access to technology and knowledge, providing sustainable energy for all, coherent macroeconomic and development policies supportive of inclusive and green growth. In inclusive human development, enablers could be sustainable food and nutrition security, universal access to quality healthcare, universal access to quality education, inclusive social protection systems. In peace and human security, enablers could be democratic and coherent global governance mechanisms, good governance practices based on the rule of law, and human rights protection. In environmental sustainability, enablers could be sustainable use of natural resources, climate, oceans, biodiversity, and management of waste. Next is the managing disaster risk and improving disaster response. Next is improving development outcomes. First, promoting the integration of migration within development processes at national, regional, or global levels. Second is protecting and promoting the human rights of all migrants, including undocumented, stranded, stateless, or otherwise vulnerable migrants. Third is by supporting the interstate, multi-stakeholder consultation and cooperation on migration, especially by providing knowledge and expertise. So next are the effective approaches. So mainstreaming migration into development processes. So the mainstreaming process itself has been extremely successful with a mainstreaming of migration going above and beyond the target in in all partner countries and are manifest in rather distinct mainstreaming efforts depending on the existing legislation and migratory, political, and development context in each country. Next is the development at a local level. So, effective local development can reduce disparities between poor and rich places, add to the stock of locally generated jobs and firms, increase overall private sector investment, improve the information flows with investors and developers, and increase the coherence and confidence with which local economic strategy is. Next is the diaspora engagement. So, the diasporas refer to the migrants or descendants of migrants. Other terms used in the literature are expatriates or transnational communities. Diaspora engagement policies consist of a variety of government measures aimed at engaging, maintaining, or developing a relationship with their diaspora living abroad. Last is the ethical recruitment standards. So, employing ethical processes is a benefit for both businesses and recruitment agencies. Transparency in the way recruiters operate means you know what's happening and when. And it also means that recruiters can carry out their roles with confidence and support. Being ethical is attractive. So here is the HOD Roundtable recommendations. So assessing the effects of international migration on sustainable development and identifying relevant priorities in view of the preparations of the post-2015 development framework. So these include migration in the post-2015 UN Development Agenda as part of an enabler. It's about mainstreaming migration into development and broader sectoral planning, embark on an inclusive process of mainstreaming migration into development and other policy sectors, and raising the quality of research and data collection on migration. So that's end for my report, and thank you so much for listening and watching.